What's up, everybody? Today I want to talk about narcissists, surviving narcissists, and the way that they abuse you by constantly and consistently undervaluing any contribution that you can make to their life, to your lives together, whatever it is. The thing with narcissists is that, and like generally they get worse, and somebody might not be a full-on narcissist when you meet them, but one skill that they have is emulating behaviors that they decide are in their best interest or positive or rewarding to them. And so, pardon me, I have a sun blister on my nose. And so you can end up in a really like a long-term relationship or a really deeply connected situation with a narcissist. And for me, I didn't really know much about narcissists or narcissism until I started to separate from them in my life. And then it seemed like the information was everywhere about them. And I'm grateful for it because it really helped me to understand more of what was going on, what had been going on. And I want to say also that nobody is a villain in your story, you know? When you end a relationship or a breakup or a friendship or a family connection with a narcissist or anyone else, no one is the villain. They played the role they needed to play and that they were called to play in order to teach and guide you on your path. So no matter how much they've hurt you or how much residual pain or problems you have to sort out because of them, try to remember that they were serving a purpose and everything that happens is for your highest good. And, there's no reason to vilify them and to, you know, create a narrative where they were the devil, Now, the chances are that once you're out of the relationship with the narcissist, it becomes clearer and clearer to you what an impact they had on your mental wellness and on your life. And this video entry is partially motivated by the last few days being incredibly difficult, incredibly difficult, period. But then made worse by a narcissist in my orbit. And again, I don't need to vilify any of the narcissists that have been in my life. I don't need any of you to have any opinion of people that have been in my life, and I don't need them to know either. The thing with a narcissist is they're never going to see any perspective except their own. They're never going to remember a conversation or a situation that they weren't focused on the whole picture. And they're generally only focused on remembering what they want to remember, the details they want to remember, the perspective they want to see. For a narcissist, everything has to benefit them, or it just really doesn't exist, or they're going to, push it away or get rid of it. And most of my life, I was attached to a narcissist. I've recently realized that I attract narcissists, and that happens a lot to empaths and light workers, that we attract people who are really self-obsessed. And one thing about narcissists is that they don't have high self-esteem. They don't have a high value attached to themselves. And first of all, if somebody doesn't value themselves highly, they're never going to value you. They never are. It's not even a choice. They can't. They don't understand. And they can't understand. Understanding is a choice. Being kind to people, valuing people is a choice. And again, it's often not until you've left the situation or the friendship, the relationship, or the family dynamic that you really start to realize the level of narcissistic abuse that you have been subjecting yourself to. Now, I don't believe in victim mentality because I don't believe in vilifying someone. But when you're no longer serving them, that's when you really, really start to see the depth of the narcissism and how there's a complete lack of empathy and care for anyone but themselves. My connection with narcissists has caused me to undervalue myself, even though I'm somebody with really high self-esteem. I'm highly intelligent. I'm highly adaptable. I'm very, very talented at anything that I even attempt to do. And I think it is that, when a narcissist becomes worse after you're married or after you're in a relationship, it becomes difficult to notice because you, as an empath or a light worker, you understand that people go through seasons and that everybody has to learn lessons in their own timing and in their own way. And so you can really excuse a lot of the behavior. They also, in order to keep you around, because a narcissist always is benefiting from an empath 100% of the time. And in order to keep you around, they will learn how to mask. They will learn how to emulate behaviors that are beneficial to them keeping you around. So it's not even that they want to be a better partner to you, it's that they want to keep you around. And as an empath, you're a great communicator. So you very likely have told them exactly what it takes to keep you in their life. And a narcissist, even if they're only caring about themselves, they will learn to mask and emulate certain behavior in order to keep you around because it benefits them. And it's leaving a narcissist or disconnecting from them that is really the toughest part, because a narcissist, they don't care what kind of attention they're getting from you. They want any kind of attention. So if it's not positive attention, they will create conflict and a fight. And energetically, when you're connected to them, they don't even need you to respond. They just need some way to get at you. And whether that's, passively through social media, or it's directly with a phone call or a text message or, something like that, they will find a way, as long as they are able, to make you feel less, to degrade you. And that is in order to lift themselves up. They don't deal with their emotions. They don't reflect. They don't think. They don't care how they treat people. They don't feel guilt. So the motivation behind everything they do is to serve themselves, to think about themselves, to get more for themselves. Whereas an empath, you're always thinking of, how can what I do be of the most benefit to the most people? How can I move through this crowd without or with giving the most grace? So an empath, if there's a crowd, they'll move their way through the crowd based on where the gaps are. A narcissist just moves straight through the middle. They just move directly what's in front of them. It's just a single track mindset. There's nothing in the periphery. And a lot of narcissists are borderline sociopathic. These things go hand in hand together. And I was just watching an interview yesterday where I think it was the Diary of a CEO. And he asked his guest, do you think narcissism is getting worse? Do you think there's more of them today than ever before? And his guest said, absolutely, 1,000%. And the host asked, do you think it's because of social media? And the guest again said, yes, I do. I think social media is creating narcissists. But in my opinion, every single one of us is getting better or worse. And it depends on how you define certain personality traits. But the gap, between like us and them is getting wider. So what happened at the end of last year, 2025, was as the veil dropped and so many astrological cycles came to an end. I mean, there was like a 9-year, a 12-year, a 14-year, a 26,000 year, a 13,000 year, roughly, a 2-year. There were so many things, and we entered the age of Aquarius. And with that, the veil fell, and people are losing their ability to mask. So I don't even know if it's that narcissism is growing or getting worse. But I do know that people are losing their ability to mask, to pretend that they're anything other than who they are and what they are. And so the gap between us and them is growing. And that's allowing the light workers and the empaths and the lovers of this world to very clearly identify who is the narcissist, and it's like, I almost said, who's evil, who's a narcissist, but they're not evil. They are serving their purpose in this, fabric of reality where we're all woven together to interact with each other and serve a purpose in each other's life and their destiny and their learning. And the narcissists, they'll all really stay in the 3D earth, Spiritualists talk about the 5D earth and the ascension of humanity, and I'll start talking more about this mass awakening that's happening now due to the return of the Christ consciousness and the entering of the age of Aquarius and all these things. And as this happens, we're going to see like certain events like really reach the apex, and more tension being created, while at the same time we're going to see more people being authentic on social media, not being afraid to show emotion, not being afraid to admit their struggle. And they're doing it not for attention, but in order to connect and to let the others see that they're not alone. So it's like, it's really us and them. And it's those of us that choose light and choose growing and face our pain, and we do the shadow work and we overcome our challenges. And it's them who are super obsessed with money, who don't care about others, who, if they don't get their way, they disrespect people. I had a fight a few months ago with my partner at the time. And the argument was about mistreating the airline employee at the ticket counter. That the employee is just enforcing the policy, they're just doing their job. So getting an attitude with them or getting upset with them when they're enforcing a policy or following guidelines, for me, is the biggest waste of time and energy. It's extremely abusive. It's totally uncalled for. And the reality is that, like, my partner wasn't that way before. My partner was such a good, kind, and loving person. And one of the things that made me pursue my partner and made me love my partner was the way my partner treated others. But that was just in the beginning. And with a narcissist in the beginning, they're always going to be really good at hiding those traits, especially if you are a good communicator and you've made it clear that you don't like those traits. And also, depending on their age, the degree of their narcissism could be minuscule. I believe you can heal it. I believe that you can work through narcissism. You can work through sociopathy. You can work through a lot of these mental issues, but you have to choose that. Choosing it means, first, that you reflect, which narcissists don't do. Second, that you become aware. And third, that you choose to stop the behaviors and the thinking that leads you to be that way, or to have these negative behaviors, or to treat people in a negative way. And I'm telling you, a lot of people have done a lot of really wrong things to me intentionally in my life. And generally, I've just let it go. I believe in, everyone serving their purpose. And I've seen what the universe, God, or life does to those who intentionally use their energy to act against me. And so even in these recent months where I've taken narcissistic abuse from family, from my partner, the most part, I just smiled and went through. But now I'm trying to recover, I'm trying to heal. And it seems like I still am unable to escape the influence of the narcissistic abuse, where I am being shown and told that I don't have any value. And if I didn't have high self-worth and high self-esteem, and I wasn't sure of myself, then it would really be messing me up. It would have really messed me up when it came from my mom. It would have really messed me up when it came from my partner. Instead of me just saying, like, wow, wow, that's incredible. I could never treat anyone that way. I could never. And today I found myself telling a story of somebody who really did me so wrong. Somebody I used to date just did me so wrong, just like the wrongest they could do. But I still didn't treat them poorly. I still stuck by their side. I still supported them and understood, because I'm an empath, why they did what they did. And I can understand why my partner says and does the things that, well, my ex-partner does. And I don't excuse the behavior because I don't deserve it. But I do understand it. And I understand that if you're afraid of your own emotions, you're going to project everything outward. You're going to be angry all the time. You're never going to be happy because you can't be alone with yourself. You can't truly be alone with yourself. And for those of you that may see this, that don't have that level of value and worth, no one should ever treat you poorly. No one should ever treat you that like you have no value, even if you've done something wrong. My perspective is, if you can treat someone poorly at all, you never loved them. Because even if they really hurt you and violate you, which I didn't do, you still, like, you might hate them, right? Because you are in pain, you're hurt from their actions, but hate is an extension of love. Hate is like, you can only hate someone that you loved. And I just want people to understand that they don't deserve it, that you don't earn mistreatment. You don't earn bad things. You might earn lessons, and whatever you've dished out and done to someone will certainly come back to you. But you don't earn mistreatment. Nobody has the right to treat you poorly, to disregard your reality in favor of themselves over and over and over again. Part of me really wants to tell the story as an example, but another part of me just thinks the message isn't the story. The message is, you don't deserve that. And you really shouldn't allow your emotional state or your self-worth or value be altered by anyone that is not 100% embodying the skills and behavior and personality that you admire and look up to. Don't give your power away to someone who's cranky and bitter with life. They're never going to value you. And in the end, after years of sacrifice and giving and loving and taking care, they're not going to, they'll have no value of anything you've done. So if you're in a situation, if you think that you're with a narcissist, I encourage you to educate yourself on what narcissists are, how they act, the way they fight, the way they move through this world, because it really is us and them, and not just the narcissist, but it's us that are loving, kind, caring, generous, empathetic, aware, spiritual, divine creatures on this planet. And there's the narcissist, NPC, sociopathic, selfish, angry, bitter people. And the chasm is growing because of the ascension and the awakening. And we're going to be in a whole new reality. We have anchored the light. We have won the war. Gives me chills. And we are ascending. And they are stuck. So they're going to get more angry. They're going to get more bitter. They're going to dislike you more. They're going to try more to pull you back, to limit you, to tell you. They can sense when you're energetically connected to them, because they are vampire energy. They can sense when you're balanced, when you start to feel better. And that's when the message is going to come. That's when the phone call is going to come. That's when the attack is going to come, because they are dwelling with the darkness, the vampire energy that feeds off fear, anxiety, sadness, depression. And I'm telling you, the devil doesn't make things hard for people that belong to the devil. The devil will give you anything that you want. And so the devil, their demon, will tell them, hey, that person's starting to feel better. Now's the time for you to attack. Find your way in that may be a little bit nice or a fine thing, and then just just shove it in and just turn your fist as fast as you can to hurt them as much as you can, as quickly as you can. You have to not reply. You cannot reply. Do not feed them. And it's true for anybody that's trying to say negative things to you, trying to hurt you, trying to pull you down, trying to judge you. Now, if they're saying your behavior is hurtful to them, that's not a criticism of you. That is their communication, trying to work with you. But if they're just trying to bring you down, if they're trying to only think of themselves and only have their perspective and only consider themselves and what's beneficial to them, just let them spin their wheels. And even if you're hurting, even if you're crying, no matter how it makes you feel, do not reply. Reply to God, to your angels, tell a friend, telegram. Don't tell them. They don't care. All they want is a rise out of you. All they want is to siphon a bit more of your energy, because here's the thing. Those that dwell in the darkness cannot get life from the light. They are energetically blocked from growing from the light. They survive on it, but where our food gets life from the sun, where we get vitamins, nutrients, energy from the sun, and what we eat has gotten its energy from the sun, from the light, they can't do that. They're cut off because of the way that they are. And the only way they can survive is anxiety, fear, depression, and sadness. That's why in this world that we live in right now, there is so much grief and things escalating all over the planet, because the darkness has finally lost the war, And it is desperate now to create as much anxiety and fear in the human race as possible because it needs it. It's been feeding off of it for 26,000 years on this planet, and its day is done. So now it's making things worse as it can imagine because of the desperation. So you have got to protect yourself. And don't feel bad if you fail. Don't feel bad if you reply. Don't feel bad if it gets to you and breaks your heart and makes you cry and makes you angry. Just try to let it go. Just try to return to yourself and to that loving place. Thank your spirits that you are not like them. And then try to move on with your day. Don't let them create a bad day for you. You know, something difficult happens in life, especially in our relationships, especially with people we're married to or our family. Try to only let it be, it's been a bad half hour, a difficult hour. This afternoon was difficult. But don't surrender your whole day energetically to them. That's exactly what they need. That's exactly what they want. The only thing keeping them afloat is their abuse of you.